Welcome to the Max Bet Podcast, a podcast dedicated to everything gaming. I'm Landon Jones, here with Mike McKiskey. Let's get started. What's up, dog?
What is up, dude?
You got any cool intro raps for us?
I have no raps. You have raps? You want me to beat? I can't beatbox, but I was going to say I could try.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another freaking great episode of the Max Bet Podcast. If you're in your car driving to work or you're winding down with us today, we appreciate you joining the boys. Please like and subscribe if you haven't.
What's taking you so long?
Yeah, come on.
If you're still listening and you haven't hit it, what are we doing here? Let's take our relationship to the next level.
To the next like.
The old thumbs up would be good.
Yeah, that's how we know you're our friends, if you give us a like.
Yeah, the thumb, good finger. The other finger, not so good. So, I'll give it. How are you? What's going down?
I'm good. I was thinking as I sat down, I'm going to ask you what you were excited about in gaming because I know you're going to be like, I don't know.
Well, I know, but I don't feel like I can say it yet. We've been cooking up some sauce, man.
Oh, we going to go there?
I mean, I don't want to. We can't really tell the whole thing, but we can tease the fact that we're in the lab cooking up. We got pens and paper.
We are in the lab, and are we going to give him a teaser, or are we going to wait?
I don't know. We make him wait. Tease him. What do you want to do?
I'll give him a little teaser.
We'll see what you think.
You guys are listening to the podcast. This is 2% of what we've been working on. That's the teaser.
Okay.
And it's dropping soon.
We got lab coats and beakers. The other 98%. We're figuring out what to do and where we're going. So
it's like, Mike's laboratory. It's like Dexter.
We should figure out a timer, countdown to like New Year's when we launch this thing.
Oh, you just gave him a launch date.
Roundabout New Year's. I don't know. Could be sooner.
Forget all that and throw us a like.
Yeah, and just subscribe.
Just give us a good old like.
Completely not gaming related. Have you ever been kayaking?
I have been kayaking.
My new favorite thing.
What, you just take a 20-foot boat and get an oar and you
just
go
put paddle?
kayaking?
Yeah, no.
What do you do?
No, I had a regular kayak in San Diego last week, and it was fun, man. It was a blast. I had my kids with me, so one kid with me, one kid with my wife, and just putzing around the bay. It was a blast, man. And I'm like, I could do this. I wish I lived near the water. If I live near the water, I'd do this every day.
So you went kayaking once, and now you're getting into kayaking?
I actually was, yeah, basically. I think it technically was my second time, but it's my first time in a while. But I'm looking at it going, I need to buy a kayak. See, I'm bad. I'm good for the economy, bad for the budget. But it's like, I was looking online this morning going, how much are these things? They're not that much.
How much are they?
The really good ones are like $1,000. So it's not even that bad. I mean, not competition level, but good for recreation. And the ones that you could just like putz around, the one I probably rented is like $300-400. So
imagine the guy with the kayak in his garage, and his friend's like, "Hey, that's a nice boat. It's a competition kayak, buddy.
Yeah, it's a slick. It's
once
it's
a year, Mission Bay.
Yeah.
We hit it hard.
It'd be really weird if that guy lived here. It's like where are you competing in the desert? You're just
out in the parking lot, just practicing,
just doing the whirly bird.
The rains are coming.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of rains, I mean, it's not necessarily funny, but the hurricanes hit kind of the south, and there are a lot of people on boats just
right now
cruising the streets.
Yeah.
Like it's funny to see because I feel like some of these people have made like good of a bad situation, but man, these guys, they're getting clicks because it's like you're in some inflatable kayak just cruising down Main Street and that's 6 feet of water, right? So it's obviously sad for all the people that have passed away or whatever, but yeah, it's wild to see. So weirdly,
yeah,
I don't know where we go from there. I don't know what the point of that was, but I've been seeing a lot of kayakers.
Start kayaking.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I guess.
GoKayak.com.
And they have competition kayaks available. That's what I got out of this.
That's what we know.
One thing sports-wise, if we're going to go that realm, is your golf game's been picking up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've been, it's weird. I feel like, you know what it is? I don't know that I've changed anything in my actual golf game, but we've been doing this challenge, right?
Yeah.
So I've been working out more. And I can tell that I dropped a few pounds. I'm stronger in the core, and I feel like that just helps. Like there's probably
get around quicker.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I like when you do it. It's like a dance move. But yeah, for sure, it's helping me. So I don't lose nearly as much money when we're betting on the golf course.
Yeah, you won a little bit of money at the San Manuel Golf Tournament.
I did. Took a few bucks off you, and then gave it right back to you the next day. So it all worked out.
And that was a fun trip. But yeah, man, so we got a new sponsor, Acres Technology. If you guys didn't listen to the last week's episode, we're pretty excited to have them on, not only because they have awesome technology, but because
they're awesome guys. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a cool company, cool tech. And then the idea of doing it in real time is still what blows my mind, right?
Yeah.
Like they're all about the real time bonusing, the real time recognition, and it's like, that is cool. So at the moment, I think, I want to say Bruce Rowe years ago.
Yeah.
Where a Bally said, he was like riffing on the side, and he just goes, wouldn't it be cool to give a bonus at the moment of dissatisfaction? So like when your player's the most pissed they're going to be,
Yeah.
hit them with something, and Akers was like, yeah, that would be cool, we're doing it. And so like that's now like, and it could be on the high side too. It's not just when they're mad or sad, but like usually I feel like that's what you're worried about, and they solved it.
So you and I have been in gaming for
Yeah.
a while, and I didn't know who Acres Technology was before I stared the MaxBet podcast.
Oh,
And
really?
shame on me for not knowing.
There's so many people.
There's others out there. There's other companies that you've been in gaming for a long time and you don't know who they are. Well, Acres Technology is responsible for a lot of the cool stuff we see today. So
Yeah.
shame on me for not knowing.
Yeah.
But now we get the opportunity to tell you about their new tech.
Well, if you don't know, now you know.
Yeah.
Bang.
It's a song.
Well,
Didn't
it's
want to
Biggie.
finish that.
It's Biggie Small. But if you, so if you want to learn more, check out acres4foundation.com, and there's a whole product tutorial, a whole overview. So definitely check them out.
And we're going to be talking more about Acres and what they're up to. And if you want to hear a little bit more now, you can go listen to John Akers, who we interviewed a few months ago. And he
episodes
gives a nice little brief overview of what they've been working on. And we're going to go in more detail. So
No doubt.
thank you guys for sponsoring the podcast. And rock and roll.
Yeah, and rock and roll is right. So what do we have today?
Who do we have today? Today we have Todd Cravens from Galaxy. He's the CEO of Galaxy Gaming, which is, they're in the table game space and also now the online table game space. It's funny how the interview came about. I'm sure he'll get into it. I don't want to talk about it in this intro.
Why would you? It doesn't make you look good.
It's whatever it is. I'm only human.
Big League Landon.
Big League Landon. Only human here. Always make mistakes, but I own them.
Soldier on.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about this Galaxy game. I wonder if does Guardians of the Galaxy immediately have to be his favorite movie?
I hope not.
Do you think he walks around feeling like he's Chris Pratt?
If that's the case, this interview is not happening today, sir.
He's just gonna hyperspeed.
What's your favorite movie? All right, see you later.
And thanks for nothing.
No, that's not going to happen. We're excited. Let's bring Todd on in and let's talk a little table games and online space.
That's it, man. Shuffle up and deal.
Let's go, baby.
Todd Cravens, thanks for joining us, man. How are you?
Very good. Thanks for having me.
You know, I was looking this up earlier. No relation to Wes Cravens, the famous film director.
No S on the end of Craven.
No S. Okay,
That's
so
right.
that's
You're the only person I know that would go try to look that up.
gotta do your homework, man. I'm the
right.
only one that prepares for these interviews. That's all
right.
you need to know.
I don't know.
And that was the extent of the preparedness.
I googled one thing.
That's right.
And I was wrong about it. So.
And we're done.
And wrap it up. Oh man, should I just throw you under the bus now? You want to throw yourself under the bus, or how are you going to do this?
Todd, do you want to throw me under the bus?
I will absolutely throw you under the
absolutely.
bus.
Throw away, sir.
As I said earlier, I think the name of this pod should be the Pity Pod.
And why is that?
I'm going to say last week I was supposed to meet one of you guys. I'm not going to say who.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say who.
Yeah, exactly.
I got stood up.
Yeah.
My man calls me a little bit later. Obviously felt sorry for me as I was sitting in the coffee shop picturing a lonely
Tear.
One tear.
Just one tear. Just one tear. And you guys said, "Oh God, we got to make it up to him. Let's put him on the pod."
And here you are.
And here I am.
And we're live.
Yeah,
That's funny.
I think that's the first time it wasn't really a stand-up. I definitely didn't show up, and I didn't.
But it wasn't just no show. It was no call, no show.
Yeah.
You just left the guy sipping a latte by himself.
Was it a good
single
latte?
Tier.
I waited for you. I didn't order a thing. I didn't order a goddamn thing.
He's on a hunger
That's
strike
right.
waiting
That's
on
right.
you.
This is like Gandhi.
You owe him some lattes, my friend.
That's right.
Well, we give him a podcast.
That was a
That's
big league
right.
move. Yeah, fair enough.
That's
Fair
right.
enough. And a glass of water.
So I'm deeply sorry, and
As you
we're
should
not
be.
going to call this the pity pod.
I like it.
No,
We're
just
going to call
amongst
this
us.
the glass half full pod.
What?
We're going to continue to go.
Keep going.
All right.
All right.
So what's going on at Galaxy, man? How's that going?
Things are going good.
Yeah.
I mean, when you make it through COVID and you make it through all that other stuff, and you're starting to see more and more of your casinos come back online, things are good. I mean, we're still in a situation. A big portion of our business is over in the UK.
Okay.
And so we still don't have all the casinos open there. So a big portion of what we do are over with the Mayfair Club, so real high-end clubs.
Sure.
And those guys rely on internationals, right? So guys from the Mideast come over, let their hair down. Well, until the travel corridor opens back up, they remain closed. But I think hopefully we'll start to see those guys come back. We're starting to see Canada open up a little bit, right? So for us, we're seeing, we're only table games. So as everyone freaked out and said, okay, I'm going to get COVID off chips. Everyone freaked out. I'm closing tables. We're doing this and that. And now we're seeing those things come back. Now we run into some issues with availability of dealers, right? So some of those things. So, we're seeing all those things, but by and large, I would tell you, I think we get back to 2019 numbers by the end of this year. 21 should be what 2019 was.
Yep.
We had a good quarter last quarter. We had our highest percentage of EBITDA. So, when we make the money, we've been watching our expenses. So we're doing that. And now we're opening up new markets as we kind of get through some of the jurisdictional stuff. So all in all, I'm about ready to take a deep breath and a nap. I could use a nap, but
holiday vacation.
But no, we're doing. I'm very optimistic with kind of how things go.
Nice. And when you say, so you mentioned the Mayfair Club, some of these luxury places, I immediately think of the poker scenes in James Bond. I've never been there. Is that close?
Yeah.
For
So really similar. Like if you go into the Mayfair Club, some of these places they're amazing, like Les Ambassadors or Colony. And so if you ever listen to that ESPN 30 for 30 on the card sorting with Phil. So that happened in one of those clubs.
Oh, interesting.
But some of these used to be like the old estates for Wedgwood and all these people, and they turn them in. So you'll go into the salon and there's two tables there, and then you go into the old dining room and there's tables there, and these are guys are playing real money.
Big money.
I was gonna say, is it invite only or is it?
Absolutely, these are. And
so Landon and I couldn't just walk in and decide.
Yeah, I mean, some of them are some of them are like real serious in regards to that. But some of these clubs, 95% of their play comes from non-UK residents. So imagine the impact when you close your borders on something like that. You got no one doing it. So those clubs are very interesting, and really kind of where it started for us with those guys is in the UK. It's the only place for whatever reason way back in the day where we own 3-card poker.
Yep.
And so we kind of changed some stuff around and did some interesting stuff with the progressives. And in these high-end clubs now, they have 25-pound progressives.
Wow.
So
25 pounds is roughly how many dollars?
About $40.
Okay.
So
minimum.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just each hand, right?
No. So it's 40 for the puck for the progressive.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
The flat bets.
Could be whatever.
100 and something.
Could be anything.
Average is about 700 pounds. So that's the type of clubs that these are going into on there. And so that's where they have some of the high end stuff and they do interesting things. And we kind of caught a little fire. We changed the progressive math from 1 in 500,000. We dropped it way down so there's a higher frequency.
Yeah.
And it went great. And so we've been able to kind of take that math model throughout other products and other jurisdictions and things like that. But it's one of the reasons I love the UK is that in the UK, you can just post a pay table and things like that to a website. And that's how you're able to just go on there. So you can tinker there and learn a bunch of stuff. So I think of the UK not only as a great spot for us, but an awesome laboratory.
What's the approval process on something like that?
That's that, right?
Yeah,
you're
just
posting
the
something up
post.
there.
Okay.
And so that's where like you can iterate real quick and do some fun stuff. And then we learn stuff over there and we're able to kind of bring it back here and to other jurisdictions.
Sounds like a country that Washington was always the most friendly state for table games. It seemed like everybody wanted to try and test out stuff in the card rooms in Washington.
Right.
This is probably on a more grand scale.
And I think Washington's a little bit tougher now than it used to be. Yeah.
Interesting.
That's interesting. So are you seeing that same idea where you say we're going to reduce the odds to jackpot, so to speak, on the progressive? Has that worked outside of the big clubs too? Like when you come to the States or other places where maybe we're paying $5 and $1.
Yeah.
Does that still work?
Yeah, I think for a couple of reasons. I think that the way we think about it is how do we give 1 or 2 units back on a pretty regular basis, take a little something out of the middle part of the paid table and have higher frequency. So players have won it, dealers can say they've dealt it, and you kind of build something around that type of thing. And so the other thing that we've done is that on our progressives, we have 2 pucks. So we have what we call a multi-denom. So you could have a $1 and a $5, two different progressives. What's interesting about that is 70% of the time, they bet both. Now, it can be 1 in 5 here. It could be a 10 and 25 pound in the UK. They bet both because we have two different triggers. So if we're playing TCP over in the UK, you could have a mini royal diamond, mini royal spade. So they don't want to lose out of one of them, right? So you get to choose it, and it's an interesting way to price your table without having to have separate tables.
You give the player the illusion that they're like hedging their bet, even though they're
but then
decreasing their.
But then they're just. But like I said, so if you have a 10 and a 25 pound, okay, that's 35 times 70% of the time. So all of a sudden now you got a 28 pound bet.
Wow.
That's
on average.
wild. Yeah. And what do you see a lot of players? I mean, what's the adoption rate for players overall? Like you're saying, if a player's in, they're probably in for both. But how many players are actively in? Like, is it more than half?
Yeah. When you guys have been around table games, the whole mystery was, okay, what's utilization and this and that. Well, when you have a progressive, right?
Right, that's what I'm asking.
And so, that's one of the reasons I like that. And it's one of the reasons I like iGaming because I can get actual data on it. Right. But our participation rates on the progressives are in the 60-ish percent.
That's big time.
On things. And I don't think it's dissimilar from what a lot of people are seeing on the slot side, and I'm no slot expert, but people are kind of searching out for a little bit more volatility, right? And so with a progressive, they can get that more so than a standard 9-to-1 table on 21+3, right? We put it on a progressive.
Interesting. Yeah, I never bet the progressive. To your point earlier, I've never seen anybody win it.
Yeah.
Like I hear it, like it's weird in Vegas. They've done a pretty good job of going, hey, some player won $1 million on a side bet, right? And it's like, oh, okay. Right. But I never have the faith that it's me.
Right.
Until you see but if I saw you win it and I see you win it, I'm going, all right, I'll play it, but it's all just that believability. So I'm fascinated.
Well, it's interesting. Like if you talk to, have you guys had Zach Levine on?
No.
From MGM?
No.
Super smart.
Yeah.
So when they think about stuff, they think about trip changing event.
Okay.
Right. Night changing event. Trip changing event. Life changing event.
Sure.
Right. And these two types of things, you get that kind of frequency. This kind of comes in every once in a while.
Yeah. Right.
That's how they start to think about it. People see the night. People hear about the trip changing events. That's the thing that becomes kind of interesting. Like if we're in at that 1 in 22,000, that's a trip changing event.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's kind of how slots works. The trip changing event and the life changing event. These almost fund the life changing event, and then every once a month when that life changing event gets to a certain point, then it drives traffic. Right.
It makes sense. I mean, that's how we play. Like when we're chasing in the slot side. We're never chasing the grand. Yeah. We're always like, that major looks juicy, but it's never like, oh, I'm going to win 50 grand.
Yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense.
And the other part about it is that if you're a 1 in 500,000 on the top win on there, and the meter's not moving, there's no action. There's no juice to it, right? So if we can throw this thing on there, and this thing is cooking because these guys know, okay, this thing's above where it's supposed to be, let's roll.
Okay. Yeah.
I always like to just
do it, man.
Take a thought and run with it. Sure. And I look at, you've got Scientific Games, you've got Galaxy, you've got AGS. There's a bunch of players that are in this table game space. And a few years ago, I think it was a year ago, correct me if I'm wrong, the U.S. Patent Office stopped recognizing IP on table game patents. Yeah. And then everybody kind of said, well, geez, there's like a whole open book of stuff we can sell now. We can't use the branding, but we can use the IP in terms of the intellectual property on the map. How has that affected your guys' business, and how do you guys combat that? And
So I would tell you, so it's been a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And basically the gist of what it was is that, okay, you can't patent math.
Right.
Right. So that's why you see a lot of people put stuff around, okay, if they can wrap it in tech and they can do different things, okay, then there's some patentable stuff on there.
Right.
But to the point of what you made is that it's all about the brands, right? Yep. And this was really brought home to me when we started in the iGaming business and seeing 21+3 and things like that. So it's all about the brands. And so we have some titles like a 21+3 and High Card Flush and Bonus Craps. These are really well-known brands. So to your point is, okay, how do you make sure that somebody doesn't do just a straight ripoff of, I could tell you that there are companies that used to be a little bit more innovative and now it's a straight ripoff and they throw a bad name on that type of thing. But you say, okay, I have Coca-Cola, right? I got Coca-Cola. How do I make sure it doesn't become RC Cola? Right. So it is reinforcing the brand and the fact that players see this brand. They trust this brand because they understand how it plays on there. Now, back to the point we were talking about, is like, how do you go out there and start to get data to prove your point, right? You do that through progressives. We're able to do that through iGaming to say, look, here's what the participation rates are on this game.
Right.
And, we had situations where we've licensed our content in the online space, and they said, okay, well, we're going to do our own version of it. A month later, they came back. Players, like, you guys go out and play certain games, right?
That's interesting.
You guys go out and play certain games. And so I think the branding becomes really important. As we can wrap more tech around things and enhance those, becomes really important. So, one of the most overused terms right now in our business is omni-channel. Right. But I'm a big believer in it. It's to say, if 21+3 is successful in land-based, and we know it's successful in iGaming, should we be looking at iLottery? How do we license more of this to the EGTs of the world beyond? We have stuff with, with Interblock. We license that type of thing, because the more points where you have that brand out there, it reinforces the brand again and again and again.
And have you seen it matters, right? So you mentioned, I'm laughing at your example because you're like, we have Coke and we have RC Cola. Well, I grew up in a house that we drank the cola that was on sale. And I honestly don't know that I could tell you. A lot of people swear I could tell a Coke versus a Pepsi, and I'm sure they're right. I cannot. Yeah. So I'm just curious, do the players, have you seen where 21+3 is maybe on one table and then the RC +3 or whatever over here, that yours is beating theirs? Have you seen that head-to-head challenge and it comes out on top?
We've seen head-to-head, and we've also seen situations where we've been taken out and put back in.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and I think that it gets more reinforced when you go into markets like Michigan and Pennsylvania and New Jersey, when they're playing literally millions of bets a month on this content, to be able to have the conversation and say, look, this is what your players are playing when they're not in your facility. This is what you guys are offering on your iGaming platform. Don't you want to have the same content for when they're sitting at your table in front of green felt?
Yeah, and so you, Galaxy is big in online, bigger than I would have even guessed. I think you were saying it's close to 40%. Yep. And so what it sounds like you're saying is you've actually seen the internet side drive business for the land base, saying, you got it on your web, it's clearly a fan favorite, why don't you have it here? And then you're actually able to drive business that way.
Yeah, so going back to the UK, that is it's a market that's been open to iGaming for a long time. We spend a lot of time over there because we have a good land-based business. Those operators there have been in iGaming for a long time, and their feelings are, however you want to consume the content, in our place in front of Greenfeld, or at home in your jam jams on an iPad, right?
Home in your jam jams.
Always the jam jams.
Right. Then we want to make sure that that's available to you. And so that has kind of had this reinforcement, right? So in the UK, online, it's perfect pairs and 21+3, right? We own the online rights to perfect pairs. Someone else has it for the land base. But if you go to the UK, 95% of the blackjack tables have 21+3 and perfect pairs. And so there's kind of this reinforcement of that. And then you kind of come over to the States and you start to see, the BetMGM product that has perfect pairs and 21+3 in the RNG version in Michigan, and how well that's done. Right. So there is this thing, and I think everyone believes that in the States, iGaming is going to become a bigger player in that type of thing. And so I think that one kind of begets the other in that type of thing.
Perfect. Yeah, no, that's interesting.
I'm curious about these guys and their jam jams. And when they film this content, real serious. So you guys have people playing on Evolution's site, your side bets and we'll call them carnival games. Yep. What do you do with that content that you have people, screen recording themselves playing 21+3 and have a massive win, that life-changing event?
It's fantastic. I mean,
do you guys use it?
We don't yet. Okay. I think there's room for that moving forward on there, right? This whole thing of people filming themselves to do all this stuff. You guys have had, I believe, some of the influencers on the slot side of things. I think that's going to obviously be the next bit. It seems like a lot of those guys right now are based in Europe. Right. I haven't seen a whole lot of the guys doing that here in the States yet. Obviously, we're still at, it's a market, but the thing I always go back to is iGaming right now only accounts for 9% of the population with the states that it's okay in. Right. So 9% of that. But I think you're going to see more and more of that as it moves forward.
Yeah, so 9% of the population of the states where it's allowed.
Yeah, so if you took the US population with Michigan, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, New Jersey, and what am I forgetting?
You said Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I think
All right.
The 4.5. That's 9% of the U.S. population. No, not Ohio
those
yet.
States are?
Yeah, those states account for 9% of the U.S. population.
And then the players in those states is less.
Well,
so obviously they're not the whole state's playing.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is right now, only 9% of our population has access to iGaming, right? So Connecticut comes online, a couple of the other guys that are thinking about it, the Indianas, the Illinois of the world, you just start to see the population chunks come in, right? It's not different, I don't think, than what we started to see with the regional casinos 20 years ago, right? Yeah. People started to, in Iowa, they went across the river and started counting Iowa license plates in Illinois and said, you know what? We need casinos too because we're losing this tax revenue. Yeah. And I don't think that's going to be dissimilar. I think one of the highest rates of where people are loading wallets and doing things is the first stop out of New York City into New Jersey, right?
Sure.
Because all those guys doing that. So I think you'll start to see that because when
an internet cafe right there, you're king of the whole thing.
When Michigan went live, remember about this. Like when Michigan went live, the first month, the taxes that they took in on sports betting was like $111,000.
Yep.
On iGaming, $4 million.
Wow.
Slightly more.
So,
money.
So those guys will be looking at that stuff and saying, we want a piece of that.
That makes sense. I mean, I think that's what we're all waiting for. Is everybody getting to it?
Yeah.
It's the same program as marijuana, man. The state wants taxes.
That's right.
So
can't beat it if just get in line with them.
Yeah.
People are going to do it anyways, right?
That's right.
Even if you're gambling online, you can go play Chumba right now. There's a bunch of different sites.
Yep.
We're going to do it regardless.
Right.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Just control it.
Yeah, so you mentioned omni-channel. So you guys are obviously doing very well land-based online. Have you started to go to some of these other verticals? Like you're obviously brainstorming on them, but have you seen applications beyond?
Yeah, so we have licensed our content for a number of years with Interblock on the ETGs.
Yep.
So we have some more content that'll be coming down that way, and there's other ETGs that we'll be licensing content to. And that's good for us if someone takes out a table or whatever. But I see a world where eventually, we talk about progressives. Those ETGs ought to be linked to the tables in there. That should be a common progressive as those things kind of come together. So I think there's still a lot of evolution that can kind of come with those, but when you think about other verticals, if we do really well with our content in iGaming in Michigan, well, they have a huge iLottery business, and the iLottery business dwarfs iGaming in the States right now. Yeah. And so, if you like that content, why should we not be able to supply those things? So, I think that we're in some of them. We'll be doing more of other ones.
You think that iGaming helps build recognition to table games? I mean, because if you look at the United States as a market, I feel like it's the least amount of table game players compared to other markets like Europe and China.
Certainly in the West. I feel like you go back east, it's tables are
really
king of the thing.
Yeah, but even with that and having, New Jersey and Pennsylvania being back east, the business is still 80% slots, 20% tables in iGaming, right?
Yeah.
So the one thing that we like is that we have a stickier product. There's a lot more churn in titles. So, you guys are at AGS. There's a lot of titles going. Same thing happening in the iGaming space. So, it's it's the 80-20 rule, right? Even though there's a lot more coming. If we put out a game 21+3, Lucky Ladies, Perfect Pairs, High Card Flush, it sticks like a traditional table game would. You're not turning that over all the time. So from an operator standpoint or a developer standpoint, you build it kind of once, and you know that thing's going to be a long earner. So from that standpoint, I think they like that. I think they like in some of the situations, they have a better tax rate.
Yep.
So they like that as well.
Yeah, right.
So there is a higher promotion depending on the state for it.
Interesting.
That's wild. Yeah, no doubt.
I don't think we've ever reached our full potential in the United States for table game play, and I think it's a lot due to the fact that people just don't understand. They don't want to feel like an idiot going into a casino and sitting down at a table and being the only guy that doesn't know how to play 21+3.
Well, yeah,
but they want to play.
Yeah, you don't want to be at third base for the first time and get the stink eye because you made a mistake, right? And now you're the dum-dum there. And so there is that, right?
Yeah, I was playing not long ago over at Red Rock, and it was like third base. I was flipped the table. I'm like, "Bro, you're making I just had to go. I was looking. I'm like, I'm just gonna go. He's like, what? I'm like, "Bro, you shouldn't be sitting there. Like, you shouldn't even be doing that in any chair. But certainly, like, he's hitting 15 on a 5. I'm like,
that's why the dum-dums play at home in their jam.
It's America, bud. But we got to teach us how to play this game. Oh man, yeah, that makes sense. So I'm surprised your knuckles look good, but it feels like you've been bloody knuckling, man. Like David versus Goliath a little bit. You were talking about some of the small company things you have to do to kind of compete in the world. So how's that been going for you?
I mean, it's a challenge in the gaming industry, and we had We had an audit this last week in Nevada Gaming Control Board, which is always a good time.
Randomly.
Yeah, but I had a good conversation with him, and I told him, one of the issues that I think a lot about, even before I was at Galaxy, is that in most industries, the disruptors and the innovation and things like that come from the small startups.
Right.
Our industry is built to keep those guys out, right?
Yeah.
From the compliance and regulatory costs from one, and then you want to go to another state and all that type of deal. And so I talked with him, and I said, look, I showed him, I said, here's my expense line. I got employees here, number 2, compliance and regulatory. It's a number 2 line item for me. And so, I tried to share with them saying, look, it's tough to do those things. And we as an industry, if we want to have innovation, because I don't think you can expect it from the guys that want to keep market share, right? Because it's not, not necessarily innovation that moves that type of deal. So we talked about that, and I'm hopeful that, they listen. But I think overall, I love being at a small business. Yeah. I think I would probably go nuts at SG. I'd probably go nuts at a company your size over at AGS, right? So but we have to do things a little bit differently. And I think about kind of 3 main things of how we do it. The first one, everyone talks about, people and culture and things like that. But that is what you have to do. And I think one of the things that, because you can't make a mistake in a hire. Right. When I got 40, 45 cats around there, everyone has to be really good. And I think the one thing that we've started to do a bit more is to say, look, this place is a career accelerant. You come here, you do 3-5 years, it's like 10 years anywhere else. And I'll give you an example. We hired the guy that was the head analyst at IGT recently. Okay. And I said, look, you come here, you're going to be doing a whole lot more than you're doing. 3 or 4 weeks later, he was presenting to the board, and he wouldn't have had that. And so I think we try and create that culture that you're going to be doing a lot of stuff. Yep. You're going to learn a lot of things. And honestly, I think we push people, right? And we do push people out of their comfort zone. And, when I came to Galaxy, we had a lady who was the sales admin. She's in charge of revenue now, right? Yeah, and so you try and find and I think cultivate those people. And so I think first and foremost, find those right folks, attract those right folks, make them understand you are going to learn a ton here. If you don't stay with us forever, I get it, but you're going to be in a better place. Yeah. I think the other thing is that you have to really, really over-service customers. Right. So we do something where we send out a survey to every single customer every single time they interface with service, installation, preventative maintenance on the call. And that goes into a weekly net promoter score, right? And net promoter score is, something that says, how likely are you basically to use this company again or refer? Right. So world-class companies sit at about 70, Apple's 70. Last year and a half, we've averaged 98. Wow. Dang. So you've got to really over-service those folks. And then I think the last thing when you're a small company is you got to hit them where they ain't, right? Yep. So I'm not going to probably knock on the door at Chickasaw and replace all the AGS tables. I get that, right? Yep. So I go to the UK. I go hit it there. I go to Washington where we've had a business on there. I go online and get specific things on there because I know there's 10 places I can't compete with the big guys on. Yeah. But if there's 3, I'm going to go and knock it out of the park with those. And so that's, I think, what we do. And I think the last thing for us, in particular at Galaxy, is that we've been really, really lucky to attract, I think, at a high level, some really good folks. So, we have a CFO who was the CFO of Caesars, right? Wow. We have a guy by the name of Mark Liparella, used to be head of gaming control board on the board. Yeah. Gavin Isaacs is on our board. So we've been really lucky from a standpoint that I think that we have attracted, not just at that level, but even a little bit further, talent that maybe we shouldn't have. And I guess they dig it, right? They like being around there and they like being in a smaller deal. But those are kind of how we have to compete against these guys. And I think the last thing is you got to have some swagger, right? You got to be like, I ain't afraid of Matt Wilson. Yeah. Let's go.
You hear that, Matt?
I ain't afraid of Roger Snow.
I mean, let's
celebrity boxing. Let's set it up.
Let's go. So, I mean, you got to have a little bit of that, and scared money never wins, right? Right. And so I think there's a little bit of that where it's important for everyone to feel like, okay, we got some fun stuff we're going to do. Ain't no one going to stop us on there. So you have to have that, I think, around the place, especially when you have a small place like us to do that.
There's enough room for all of us to play in the same sandbox. And I love the smaller company concept. Gamers for gamers, just a bunch of people that love the gambling industry. And they're like, let's figure it out. We've all been at the SGs and the ATIs, and we've been shit on multiple times by the big dogs.
Yeah.
Right.
You hear me, people.
Yeah.
You know who I'm talking
There you
about.
go.
It's out there now.
Yeah, that's good.
And then you get to go to a fun company, and you get to go sit in the board meetings and have an actual say in what you do. And yeah.
Well, it was interesting because earlier you were saying, you're like, hey, it's hard because like the big guys dominate, but the small companies drive innovation.
Yeah.
But the barriers to entry can be very nearly impossible. What I'm laughing about is I won't name names, but because off the interview, we were talking to somebody that came on the show, and I was like, hey, so are you gonna develop like this certain type of thing? He goes, no. He goes, I want somebody else to develop that, and I'll just buy them. And I was like, oh, that's such a different mindset, right? Like they're big enough, they can just go, I don't worry about making. I'm just gonna buy your thing. You made it, I'll buy you.
They just they just go grocery shopping and go, I'll take one of those.
I'll take a Galaxy. I'll take a whoever else, right? Like keep it going. But it's funny because, but to your point, it's like, man, if they squeeze out all the small guys, they're not going to have anything on the shelf to shop for, right? So it's like
that's not a Galaxy issue or
no,
anybody.
Sure, it's
that's
just
an industry issue that like we have to make sure that we kind of cultivate these cool, interesting things because outside our business, tech is 10 years ahead of us for sure, right? Yeah. And that shouldn't be the case.
Probably more than that.
No doubt.
Wow.
Yeah. All right, so I got asked, so what's the swagalicious thing you're working on right now? What's the new project that's getting everybody fired up, flipping them off? What are we doing?
So we have a bunch of new content that we'll be showing around G2E. We've basically been, I think, weak in the Baccarat side of things. So we have a really good Baccarat offering coming.
Can you give us a MaxBet exclusive, or is this it?
No, it's out there right now.
Oh, okay.
So no exclusive.
Nice.
Look,
I'm always trying.
you stand me up, you ain't getting no exclusive.
Pity party works both ways.
That's right. So we have that coming in, and I think for us, I mean, that's been probably a hole in the portfolio, so it's really important. And then we bought some games from a guy literally who has a restaurant over my shoulder here, and he has a really interesting style about a very reasonable house edge, but a way to get more and more units on the table. I really like it. So we have a couple of games that we're going to launch with out of the 5. One of them is it's a blackjack variant, not a side bet. And all you can do is either double, stand, or split on anything. And you just get a lot of units out there.
So you can't hit.
No, you can't hit again. Like you can stand, you can double.
Yeah.
Right? So it gets a lot of units out there, and there's some aggressive multiplier bets. So like if you feel good about something, you can play this game. It's a really good game.
People give me a hard time because they'll. Like I play aggressive when I play blackjack. I don't play high limits, but what I play,
this is your game.
That's what I'm saying because I'm sitting there going, I'll have like a 5, right? And then the dealer might have a 5, and I'll just go double it. Yeah. Because people go, what are you doing? I'm like, the odds are I'm taking one card anyway. Yeah. So why not double in? And he's got a break or she's going to break. So this sounds like a great game.
So you'd like that. So we're doing that, and then we have on the iGaming side, we signed a deal with Spin Games, and so they're creating the first Lucky Ladies and 21+3 game with a progressive for online. And so they'll be showing that at G2E, but I think that will be quite good, right? And then that'll be an RNG version on there. And then, we just kind of recently announced that we're at a point now where we're doing 1 billion bets annually right now on our content worldwide. So we're in about 750 online casinos, and it's pretty interesting. Like I said, I didn't know there were that many online casinos, but the participation rate, as we go back to on the iGaming stuff, about high 60s, low 70s, depending on their percent of the time, they're playing at least one side bet when they play blackjack. And so for us, as we think about the U.S. and Canada opening up, we own 5 of the top 7 side bets in the world, right? Even things that we don't own the land-based rights to, we'll own the online. So Buster Blackjack that you guys have, we have the online rights to. Lucky, we have the online rights to. So as you can imagine, BJ is one of the games that gets played a lot. So, but it's regional, right? So in Canada, Lucky really strong. So if you're an iGaming operator in Canada, you want 21+3 and Lucky, got you covered, right? If you want perfect pairs in Michigan, because that is a good land-based business, we've got you covered on that. So I think that's one of the things for us as we go forward. We really want to make sure that we continue to dominate the blackjack as we open up.
What's the split on revenue generated for your company from online to land-based?
Right now, about 40% of our revenues come from iGaming.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
And is that trending up?
Growing.
Like I'm assuming that's growing, and then
iGaming is growing faster than land-based, and I think that and it should, but it will be chunky, right? As we bring on new titles, great, but Connecticut comes online,
Big
new
chunk.
chunk, new states. So I think a lot of people are kind of projecting that from a, like a 20% increase in U.S. iGaming over the next 4 or 5 years. I think what people are thinking on there, that won't be smooth. It'll be chunky depending on how things go. But I think that's reasonable.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, wild. Yeah. Well, I think we're getting close to the end here.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's stop talking about all the games we could gamble on and talk about one that we did gamble on. Let's do gambling stories.
Speaking of swagger, I got to ask, what is 21 grams of what? Protein?
No, 21 grams of protein is not that much. So it's interesting. So I found this. No, 20 grams is like 0. This apparently is how much your soul weighs.
That's right. Grams. There was a movie.
Yeah. So I found. So there's a brand I like called Ape Man Strong. So shout out to them. But they like make clothes for dudes, and they're all about like.
I think you're saying clothes for large dudes, not like you and me.
No, you could wear it. You could wear it. Yeah, you probably could. But they...
you could wear that as a jam.
Jam. Come to my house, have night shirts, all that you want. But so anyway, it's a brand I like, and I saw this one, and I looked into I said the same thing. What the hell is that? And then I go, oh, it's cool, so I'm going to buy it. So
there you go.
Here we are.
That's fast. So, gambling story. Is it going to be a tables or a slots story now?
Come on, bro.
You heard him earlier. No slots for him.
So I haven't played dice for a while, but I used to shoot dice quite a bit, and so this is early '90s, and back in the '90s, when Tyson would come to town, so would a lot of other people from South Central. Okay, that's kind of what the feel was around there. So I'm an old man now. I go to bed, 9:30, 10 o'clock. But back in the day, I got some dice in my hand. I'm staying up late. So I'm at the Lexor, and I'm at the end of a table, and I get the dice, and I start shooting. Things are going pretty well. I look around, and every other person at the table, and it's a very packed table, they got some blue bandanas hanging out the back pocket.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Crips.
Okay. Yeah. So this is what's going on.
So we're dealing with there.
So I start rolling. And I'm putting out, fives, and now things are going. We're starting to move up. I'm still rolling. I'm still rolling.
And then going, yeah.
These guys are hooping and hollering, right? Yeah. We're starting to see some blacks and some purples and this and that. I rolled for 45 minutes.
Holy crap!
Okay?
Good.
Good news. Yeah. So I rolled for 45 minutes, and I'm feeling pretty good. And so I'm down at one end of the table, and Stickman's moving the dice over to the guy next to me, who's part of the crew here. Well, the guy who is at the other end of the table. He was the guy in charge. And he points at the guy who's about ready to pick up the dice and says a word I can never say.
Yeah.
He says, "No one's rolling tonight except Whitey." and he points at me. So I'm sitting there and I'm doing some quick math. I'm like, this man is never going to be happier with me than he is right now.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like, guys, it's been a great time. I'm going to go to bed so I cash on out. So
there's no upside from here.
Zero upside.
Because your next roll is going to be like one shot and craps and you're out, and they're going to be like, dude, Whitey, you just cost us.
Yeah, it's great to get the local gang support. It's not so great to lose the local gang support.
That's right.
Yeah, that can turn in a hurry, I'm sure. Jeez.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it was a good night.
Craps with Crips.
That's right.
That's what I'm going to call this episode.
Hypothetically, the pity party. The pity party.
Yeah, in parentheses.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, I don't know how you follow that, but so you've been listening, so you know kind of how we roll. So It's been fun chatting with you. Who would you like to see us chat with in a future episode? Who would you want to challenge?
So I would give you guys 2 different names for, I think, pretty much the same reason. Not because of necessarily, I think, what they've achieved in the business, but the type of people they are and the fact that they have long and good coaching trees, if you will.
Yeah.
So the first one I would say is Debbie Nutton.
Okay.
So Debbie has been around.
Town,
she's been around for a long time and started as one of the first of 3 women dealers on the Strip.
Wow.
And her stories of starting there
brutal.
and then eventually, running gaming at MGM and Wynn and coming back to open up Resorts World and doing it with such unbelievable class is awesome. And her coaching tree is filled with just the people that really run this town on the operator level. And when I came to town here, she was just so very kind. So I think you guys would really, it would be a tremendous one. She's just seen so much and I think really come through the ranks and seen where the Strip was versus where it is. Yeah. So I think she'd be wonderful. And I think the other one is a good friend of mine, a guy by the name of Brian Pierce. And Brian is a senior, I think, VP of sales over at, my arch enemy. But Brian also has a very good coaching tree. Adam, others and stuff like that. But the thing that always sticks out about me with Brian was really, as his career was really going the right way and stuff like that, he took a step back to spend more time with his family. Yeah. I've always respected the fact that this is a guy who's really, really grounded and does the right things. But at the same time is awesome professionally. So I think they're just really two awesome character people that I think people would get a lot out of.
I love Brian. I worked with him at Bally for a while. He's a good dude. The one thing I also know, he would hate to come on this show.
Oh, perfect.
He is not a spotlight guy. He just much like he wants. He's going to be the first one to go. No, I'm not great. Landon's great. Yeah. That wasn't me. It was them. Like he shovels the
pushes
the credit to everyone else. So I'd love to have him on. We'll see BP if you're listening. But
Dreamboat.
This is not yet.
Dreamboat is the name.
Man Rocket. Yeah, no, for sure.
Fantastic.
Well, this has been fun.
This is great. That was
Thanks
easy.
for hanging out. Yeah,
came right in, sat down, called me out, and we're done.
He stays ready. He doesn't have to get ready.
That's right. Nice. Thanks, guys.
You got it.
That was fun.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you.